どうぞ始めください。
はい。皆様、こんにちは。日本カナダ会 JCK の運営委員長をしております、森脇でございます。今日はカナダ公開セミナーにご参加いただきまして、どうもありがとうございます。Good evening, friends in North America. My name is Moriwaki, the chairman of Steering Committee. 日本カナダ会は1977年に発足して、1993年から本格的な活動を始めました。主にはカナダで一緒に生活する人たちが始めたグループなんですけれども、事務局の河合さんはじめ皆さんの懸命なご尽力のおかげで、現在は会員数は200名を超えております。Japan Canada Kai was established in 1977 by families who stayed in Canada for a while, and we have expanded our activities since 1993, thanks to the activities of Mrs. Junko Kawai, the chairman, the office manager. 日本カナダ会は毎年いろいろな活動をしておりますが、現在はパンデミックのためにほとんど活動ができておらず、これまで数回、Zoom を使った皆さんとの交流会を開催しておりますが、この度はカナダ公開セミナーということで、写真家の、大竹さんと、それからマーク・ロビンソンさんに、お話をしていただくことになっております。お二人とも私たちのメンバーであります。Japan Canada Kai has been conducting various activities every year, but this time we are suffering from COVID-19 pandemic, so we cannot meet each other at this time. So we are now conducting some Zoom meeting among the members. But this time we have decided to organize open lecture and slideshow on North America. And we are inviting two main guests, Mr. Otake and Mr. Mark Robinson, to talk what they are doing these days. 今回のこのセミナーを公開するにあたり、いろいろなご支援をいただきました方々に最後に御礼を申し上げたいと思います。まずは神戸国際コミュニティセンターの不破専務理事であります。それから私たちと一緒に活動しております関西カナダ人協会の金馬コールツさん、関西日華協会の須田牛尾様、関西カナダビジネス協会の須田彩子様に心から御礼申し上げたいと思います。Last but not least, I would like to mention the name of those who supported this lecture. First, I would like to mention Kobe International Community Center, who is the co-organizer of this meeting. And I would like to also mention the names Miss Kim McCord from Kansai Canadian Association, Mr. Gushio Tsuda, Kansai Japan Canadian Society, and also Miss Ayako Tsuda from Kansai Canadian Business Association. それではこれからしばらくの間、皆様ぜひこの公開セミナーをお楽しみいただきたいと思います。司会を、JCK の代表である、河合誠さんにお渡ししますので、どうぞよろしくお願いします。
皆さん、こんにちは。森脇先生、ありがとうございました。日本カナダ会、代表させていただいております、河合です。よろしくお願いします。今回もですね、残念ながら フェイストゥフェイスでは行えなくて、こういう Zoom での開催となりますが、本日司会をさせていただきます。で、逆に Zoom だからこそグローバルにですね、距離を感じることなく開催できるというメリットもあり、夜中、ちょっと時差はオーバーカムできないんですけど、トロントから夜中の2時にもかかわらず、参加してくださっている、バンクーバーの方からの参加、あと、兵庫県の小林事務所長さんとかをはじめ、シアトルや西海岸のカリフォルニアからも参加いただいたり、あと、UK のケンブリッジからも参加いただいているというふうに理解をしています。こういう形で、グローバルにですね、逆に Zoom というプラットフォームを使っているからできていることだと思いますので、今日はよろしくお願いします。Good afternoon, everybody. This is Mark Kawai. I will be your MC today. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to have a face-to-face meeting today, but leveraging these web technology, it allows us to have more participations from around the world, not only from Canada, like in Toronto and Vancouver, but also like from Seattle, California, and even from the UK. Of course, the time that we can't overcome the time difference, so really appreciate for those who are joining us in the midnight or early in the morning. Since I want to save time, so I'd like to move on and like to ask Matt Fraser, head of public affairs at the Embassy of Canada, to make an opening remarks for us. Give us a few words for us. ではちょっと時間がもったいないので、次に進ませていただきまして、大使館のマット・フレーザーさんから少しご挨拶をいただければと思っております。よろしくお願いします。
Thank you very much. That's great to see that so many people have gathered today. And I hope you can see me as well. I'm wearing my Canada shirt. I'm definitely there with you in spirit. First and foremost, my thanks to Moriwaki Sensei, of course, and to Junko-san and to you, Mark, and others who helped to bring together today's lecture and this gathering online. Despite this extended state of emergency, it's just great that people are able to get together and to share. I think that's really important. I think it shows, really that when Canadians and Japanese work together, we're adaptable, we are resilient, and we can accomplish great things despite challenges. I've had the privilege of speaking as a guest lecturer at this open lecture, this Canada lecture in the past, and it was always great, and I'm so happy that it's continuing despite the challenges. I've had the privilege of meeting both the guest speakers that are being featured today. I attended Otake-san's photo exhibition here in Tokyo, not far from the embassy, and it was just great, amazing. The pictures were so large and so vivid, and it just brought back so many great memories of nature in Canada and in North America. And I hope that some of you have been able to see it. I know it's been in different parts of the country. And of course, Mark Robinson, I've known Mark for many years, especially during my time when I lived in Nagoya. And I think I saw him most recently at a polar bear swim a couple of years ago, and look forward to catching up with him at some point. Here at the embassy, I'll tell you, we are busy preparing for a new ambassador. So we expect that our current ambassador will depart middle of June probably, and our new ambassador will arrive middle of June. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of things to prepare for, especially because it's still the middle of a pandemic. It's difficult for the current ambassador to be able to say goodbye to people, and it's going to be difficult for the new ambassador to say hello and to greet people. So we are planning accordingly. We're also, of course, working hard to support our Canadian Olympians and Paralympians. Our athletes have been training, as you know, for a long time, and they're very much looking forward to coming to Japan this summer. So we're getting ready for that as well. So I think the lecture today is very timely. It'll put us in a good sort of feeling good frame of mind amidst all the bad news that we're hearing and the pandemic, etc. It's nice to be able to escape a little bit, I think, through these presentations and through this kind of exchange that we're having today. So I wish everyone a pleasant afternoon. I'm really looking forward to the presentations. Please, everybody, stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you.
Now I'd like to move on to our next speaker, Mark Robinson, who's our good old friend, who's been the president of the Kansai Canadian Associations. よろしくお願いします、マーク。
Hello. It's, I think, very hard to follow that presentation because it was fantastic. My photos are not going to be so nice. Okay, so I'm going to just jump right into it. My presentation will be more of going through where we had our trip, and I'll let the photos do a lot of the speaking for me. The trip summary. We took 6 weeks from June 15th to August 1st of 2019. And this was just after I left IKEA in Philadelphia. We traveled approximately 16,000 kilometers. And it was a coast-to-coast trip. From the East Coast, we went up to Maine, started there, and then went across America and down.
Mac, please
Yes?
share the presentation just now.
Okay, let's go back to the beginning again. Where is it? How come it's not presenting? Just a minute. Let's get out of here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
Just the bottom.
Yeah, it's not coming up. It's there somewhere. There it is. There it is. I got it. Okay, that's good to know. Can everyone hear me then? Okay, is that better? I'm taking
share the whole computer's screen.
Okay, the whole computer screen. Okay, let's start that again. New share the whole computer. Let's start with just the presentation. There we are. Share. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's better.
Okay, let me just get on that then. Is that better?
Perfect.
Great, thank you. I don't do a lot of Zoom meetings. Good. Okay, so here we go again. So I'm going to just jump into it. I know we only have 50 minutes to cover basically 6 weeks of traveling. I'm not going to repeat that again, but yeah, 16,000 kilometers all across America, coast to coast. And we went through 22 different US states, and then plus, of course, British Columbia at the very end. We had a temperature range of 0 degrees in some places and reached up to 45 degrees in Las Vegas. Over the trip, we visited 11 friends and we stayed at 18 different campsites. So this is our starting point. This is where we were living in Philadelphia. That's our RV. It is 31 feet long or 9.5 meters. There's the layout. It's got 2 extensions out at the back so that we can have a full queen size bed back there. And then this middle section comes out the side and gives you a lot of living space. And what we did with that living space, what happens at night is we end up putting our crib in the middle here for Luca. And then this sofa comes out to a hide bed, and that was Joe's bed. And then Ray's bed is pulled down from the roof. Now, you may be wondering what a trip like this might cost in gas. This was one of our bills. So we're fortunate in the sense that in America, gasoline is not as expensive as it is in Japan. We were paying about 66 cents a liter. what this bill was $149 US, but if you had that purchased in Japan, and right now it's at 147, we would probably be paying just a little over 36,000 yen for one tank of gas. Over the whole trip, we spent just under 3,000 US dollars in gasoline, which was about 326,000 yen. And these are our drivers. We have myself up at the top left, and Ray down at the bottom, and of course my wife, Yukari. And it was good to be able to share the driving. Here we are getting ready. We put a bicycle rack on the back. We had a little plant that we took from Philadelphia and had that with us as a nice little keepsake from our past house. And then down here, this photo is a picture of when the bed comes down from the roof, from the ceiling. And that's where Ray was sleeping. Inside, we had the fridge. It's not a very big fridge, and we had some storage space, so we had to use whatever we could. We never wasted any space. Our refrigerator was packed full, and we had to basically be looking to buy food every day because we couldn't keep very much in the refrigerator. Okay, I'm going to start off. I think you may have seen maps sent to you. I'm going through 4 maps. I've got them here. If you did print them off, that's great. You can follow the trip along as I move from photo to photo. So basically, we're starting down here in Philadelphia, and we head straight north up to Bass Lake Resort, which is my next photo. And the reason we went out to Bass Lake Resort is when we purchased the RV, they gave us a free week at a campsite to get accustomed to our RV, and then also to try to sell us on a unit in their campsite. So that's a big thing is RVing across America and also into Canada. So our first, you'll see down here, my photos will have where we ended up going down at the bottom, which in this case is the Bass Lake Resort. And that drive that day was 4 hours and 40 minutes. That's the Google map time. So I would say it would probably be about 5.5 to 6 hours due to breaks that we would take. So here's, you can see our campsite. We have the awning that comes out. And then you've got the bicycles on the back. This is a ladder that goes up to the roof that allows you to do basically any repairs. There's no reason to go up top otherwise. We had a TV. The RV had 3 TVs in all. One was outside, and here we are watching, I think, a Japan Canadian soccer game for the World Cup during that time. And the other 2 TVs were inside. We had one inside the master bedroom and one in the living room area. So these are not, a basic tent or a basic camper. Here's the other side of the RV. You can see the extensions out the back. There's the one that comes out for the master bedroom, and then this, they call them slides because they slide out. And this is for the living room area. This is the hose for the water, and we found that the water tasted quite bad. We think it was treated, the chemicals in there. So the first time we actually had miso soup, it actually tasted like medicine. So it was not very pleasant at all. And it took a while to get used to it. We never quite got used to it. And then we have the toilet dumping system, something you all need to know if you're camping in an RV. So that most RV campsites have these areas that you could just put your hose right into it and you don't have to worry about it. But you can also just collect it as you go along, and then other campsites will have a dumping spot that does that for you. So this is Parrish. This is sort of a typical campsite, and what we would do, we'd arrive, we'd get set up, and then we just sort of wander around, enjoy the weather, sit around and play backgammon and other games. And for example, horseshoeing. That was as you can see down at the corner, we had a good round there. So just for people who don't know, this is me, of course, and this is my son Ray and my other son Joe. And here's Yukari doing cooking. This is our second campsite. We moved from the first campsite to Moody Beach, which is very close to the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean. I want to say Atlantic. Started, that was really where we wanted to start our trip. And that was a 6-hour drive to this campsite. We had great cooking, thanks to Yukari and all her cooking and purchasing skills. And we did try, of course, to help along the way. We didn't leave her with all the chores, but I'm sure she took her fair share of the chores. So here we are in Wells, Maine. This is our most eastern point, and there with Luca, we're looking over to England, making sure that England is where it's at. And here we are, our group photo at the start of our from east to west tour. We have these mugs that were given to us by my sister, Victoria or Bust, and as you can see, we're all carrying our versions of them. When in Maine, you have to make sure that you eat the lobster. So we obliged, and there we are having our lobster. And here we are in our next place, Sebago Lake, Maine. We headed up to another campsite. This is a state park site, so it doesn't have all the luxuries that that first one did, but it still had Wi-Fi, so we were able to pick up the soccer game for that day. And that drive from the coast up to this lake was only about an hour and 20 minutes. And this is the lake. Unfortunately, it was way too cold to go for a swim, but as you can see, there's some canoes and other items. Here we are getting the fire ready. And as you can see, it did rain the night before, so we had a bit of water on the ground. And here we are, Ray's doing his chore of cooking dinner that night. And as you can see, we have a few guests. So yeah, everybody should be helping with the chores. Otherwise, I'll say this up front, 6 weeks with teenage boys doesn't always go pleasantly. So if everybody's not pulling their weight, you will have some family fights, which I will honestly say we did. But you know, we just got to try and work together. So if you do want to do a nice big family trip for 6 weeks, be ready for those fun evenings. So we moved down from Sebago Lake down the coast, closer to Boston, and we went for some whale watching. Got some beautiful pictures of the whales. Actually, I think I've got a whale video here. Let's see if I can. Oh, it's not going to happen. Some of my videos are broken. Okay, so here we are. This is heading towards Wampatuck State Park, just south of Boston. It was a 3-hour drive from the last campsite. And one thing we noticed along the way that speed limits in the States can be quite high for an RV. So we did have to be very careful as we were driving, not to sometimes stick to the speed limit, but go a little bit slower. When you're such a big vehicle, it's something we have to watch out for. From the campsite into Boston, we had a ferry, which was kind of nice to take this ride into the city of Boston. When we were there, we of course did our tour around Boston. It was a beautiful city. If you get a chance, I would recommend seeing Boston. While we were there, we managed to pick a night that the Toronto Blue Jays were playing at against the Boston Red Sox. And Boston was winning the whole game until the last inning, where Toronto came back and ended up, I think, winning. It was 6-5 or something like that. Of course, all the fans were cheering that, and of course, we were telling them that we were Canadian, so they were laughing at us that they were winning until the very end when we came back and won, which was a nice sort of thing to have that night. Then from Boston, we took a 7-hour drive to Rochester, New York. This is Rochester. It's a small state park. This one, state parks are not like the RV resorts. They really have the basic stuff. As you can see, we're not connected to water, or we don't have the latrine connections. So it's just, yeah, it's just a little bit different. You just have to adjust that. But we were lucky we got this site with a concrete base, which made it leveling the RV much easier. That's one thing I'll try and show you is our levels, if I have a good picture of that later. So from that campsite, we headed to Niagara Falls, which on the map is just south of Toronto, as you might know. We did not go onto the Canadian side. We kept our tour within the United States. Didn't want to risk going back and forth over the border. So, and then from Niagara Falls, we headed down to Genesee Lake RV campsite. This one was interesting. Like I've sort of picked campsites generally because of the name. It's like, oh, it's a lake, you know, might have a nice lake swim. But unfortunately, this lake was not really a good lake to go swimming. But it did have a pool. You can see that in the background. And we were very, I'm going to jump to the next slide. Here's by the pool, which was, it was a warm day, so we really enjoyed the pool. And there's a nice frog, toad, that we're trying to introduce to Luca. I'm going to go back now. Okay. So one thing we noticed at these campsites is we have full-time residents, people that actually have purchased these slots or rent them. I'm not sure what the situation is, but they basically live there. They are full-time RV residents. So you see them at all these RV resorts, they call them, and amazing RVs. Ours, I thought our RV was quite a nice RV, but there were some very, very nice RVs that we saw along the way. From Genesee Lake, we headed up to Detroit, and this is the first visit we had with one of my friends. The way I sort of picked this route to get across from one side of America to the other was by looking at my address book and seeing all the people that I knew living in America. And a lot of these people were people that I had met in Japan. So this first stay is a connection. He worked for, and he still does work for, the Homeland Securities. And as you can see from his license plate, he's got Yakuza on the back. He's got a very strong connection with Japan. His wife is Japanese, and he was working for Homeland Securities here in Kobe. Now he works at the Detroit airport. So there's Luca there, and quite often we would just pull up along the side of the road where these houses are and just park and set up our campsite. From there, we headed up north in Michigan to North Higgins Lake. The reason we did this, the friend we were staying at, Scott, you'll see his picture in the next couple of slides. His mom lived up there, and he said it's great for camping. So I said, yeah, you know, we're just on a trip, so we got lots of time. So we headed up a little further north to this area, and it was really beautiful. We had some great weather. There's Joe and Ray biking. This lake was actually very good for swimming. It had a very shallow area. So maybe not good for swimming, but good for wading and just having fun in the water. And here we are having one of our game nights. This is Scott and his wife in the background. We would, one of our favorite games on this trip was Monopoly. And as it goes on into the night, gets a little stressful and can get very, very passionate near the end. So there's Ray. He's trying to sell one of his properties, I think, if you know Monopoly. And what would be camping without having s'mores. So if you're a camper, you should know about s'mores. What it is graham crackers with roasted marshmallows and chocolate, and it's a great way to end the evening. Okay, moving on from our next thing, we're going to head from that Northern Higgins Lake back into Detroit, and then along sort of Ohio, Illinois, up to the Twin Lakes, which you saw some beautiful pictures in the earlier presentation. Mine aren't so beautiful, but I hope you enjoy them. And then we'll head through the center of America. So back into Detroit, we managed to get into another baseball game, which was great, the Detroit Tigers. And this is, of course, pre-COVID times. We have lots of people in the stands, and it was a beautiful day for a baseball game. So from Detroit, we left, and it was just over a 4-hour drive down to Loveland, Ohio. And we stayed with Rachel and Jim Uhas, and they put us up in their place. I put great friends in this slide, but every place that we stayed at, when we stayed with friends, they're all great friends, and it's just so nice to be able to have these people around the world that I've met. And again, Rachel and Jim, I met here in Japan. Actually, they were here for the '95 earthquake, and they handed me their keys to their house because my house was destroyed. And they handed me the keys and said, you know, P&G, they were working for Procter & Gamble. They said, here, we're going to Hong Kong. I think the P&G was taking them, and they gave me their house and said, you know, you can have it until we get back. So very, very wonderful friends that we were able to visit. And they introduced us to Skyline Chili. So if you're familiar with Ohio, Cincinnati, you should have Skyline Chili. If you look, there's some chili underneath all that cheese. The next day, we headed over into Illinois in Peoria, which if you are familiar with Caterpillar, Caterpillar's headquarters is in Peoria. And again, this is Bud and Janelle Harvey. He was the Boy Scout here in Kobe. And I was also the assistant Boy Scout leader. And we did a lot of scouting here. So another great friend. And while we were there, he is a iron worker, does forging. So he has these forges in his backyard and allowed us to dabble in some iron work. So there is Joe hammering away at what will be a steak flipper, which you'll see in the next slide. So here we are, and you'll see Joe and Ray showing their tools. Oh, actually, I've got mine there too. And here's a close-up of the steak flippers. So when you're in Peoria, you have to go to the Caterpillar Museum, and of course they have all the big toys, and here's one of them. They also, Peoria is on a river, and they have an old paddle boat, which we took a tour on. It was a fun tour up the river and back down. We also knew another Boy Scout leader, Dan, who's from Peoria as well, and so we moved to his house and stayed a couple of nights. And while we were there was the 4th of July. So we managed to see the 4th of July and a great firework display. Absolutely beautiful, right over the river. Recommend it. We saw quite a few while we were there and living in Philadelphia, but I would say this was definitely the best one we saw in the 4 years that we were there. Okay, now we get up to the Twin Lakes area, which is the area that, where are we here now on the map? Yeah. We were lucky enough, another friend that I know from Kobe, he moved back. He was originally from Minnesota, and he moved back into this area, and this is his summer cottage. This was our longest drive in one day. It was 9 hours and 40 minutes by Google, but with lunch breaks and other breaks, it got just over 11 hours of travel. So it was a really full day to get up there, but it was definitely worth it. And you'll see in a minute. Oh, you see from this photo, I mean, it was just gorgeous. So here we are on the lake at Tim's place with his wife. And here we are with some of his toys. This was a chance for me to show off my water skiing skills, but also a chance for Joe and Ray to finally get up on water skis. They had tried when they were younger, but they actually got up this time. So it was quite, I was quite proud to see them get up on water skis. Okay, so from Minnesota, we then headed to the Badlands of South Dakota. And from Minnesota to the Badlands, it was a long drive. So we actually broke it up into two portions. One day we did 5.5 hours to Watertown, and it was just a stop. And then we headed for another 5 hours the next day to this campsite called Cedar Pass Campsite. This is a incredible campsite. There we are, as you can see with the RV. We've got these mountains, but this doesn't do it credit. And I've got a video that I hope will show in a minute of what the scenery is like from this campsite. So here we are. Yes, so this is up in the Badlands. Okay, this one's gonna play. Let's see if it comes on here. Where is it? There we go. Okay, so here we are. Our campsite is right down there, and it's a bit fast, so I'm sorry for that. We're not professional photographers, but you can see the vast scenery that we are looking at from our campsite. It's just gorgeous. Oh, and there's my wife and Luca. So yeah, it's just beautiful. That was the view we had from this campsite. And let's get out of that, jump back into the presentation. And then we had, oh, actually, are you able to see this? Because this is not the, you may not be able to see this. Have you not seen this video maybe? Is somebody going to tell me that they can see the video or not?
Oh,
see the
no,
video?
we can't see the video. No.
Oh, you can?
You can't see the video. No.
Yes.
You can't. You cannot.
Yeah,
Okay.
there is a technical problem, so
Well,
maybe
it's
not.
because I'm presenting my my photo, my presentation rather than my screen. So let me see what I can do here. See what I can do. Okay, we have to do some adjusting here. Okay, so I'm going to go back to this. Can you see the buffalo now, or the bison?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So this is really just outside of our RV. We drove right past it. It's just beautiful. Okay, and then I'm going to jump back. This is going to be taking a bit of time. Oh, it's okay, this is going to be fun, isn't it? Screen share. Okay. Sorry. Be nice if we could have something else here. Just a minute. I will try not to share too many of these presentations. Okay. There we go. Okay, the campsite again. Okay, so you missed this. And like I said, it's just amazing. So here again is where we were camping, just down here at the edge. And here is the scenery we get from our campsite.
Mark, you need to share the video. It's sharing the PowerPoint slides right now.
Okay, thanks for letting me know. I will jump back into that. Da, 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 da. Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Okay. So there's what we're looking at, which is just incredible. So that was our evening in the Badlands, or at least that view anyways. Now I will go back, new share, back to the presentation. Share. Okay. Okay. So that was the Badlands. And now we will go to Mount Rushmore. So heading a little bit more west. Of course, if you're in the neighborhood, you should definitely be seeing Mount Rushmore in South Dakota. There is also a area called Crazy Horse Monument. This is where it is right now. You can see it in the background behind us. It's being done by the First Nations in that area, and down here on the left is what they want it to look like eventually. So you've got another half century before I think it's going to be finished, but this is sort of where it is right now. You can see it in the background there. Okay, so we stayed at a big pine campground. Again, this is more of the a local one, not a resort. That was just a 2-hour drive from Mount Rushmore. Okay, I don't know if you recognize this. So when we left that campsite, we were heading further west towards Montana, but on the way there's this Devil's Tower. If you remember the movie Close Encounters, this is the mountain that is featured in that movie. Of course, to get to Montana, you have to go through Yellowstone, and one of the routes that we took through Yellowstone is up into the mountains. And so we went from some warm weather up into some of the coldest weather. So this is in Yellowstone, Wyoming. This is Beartooth Pass. And then just a little bit further towards Montana, we're through Yellowstone National Park. And there we are with some more bison. One thing we want to stress is, like, through the middle of America, there is, and you saw those in the pictures in the other presentation, you know, vast land with nobody around. And this is something that, you know, coming from Philadelphia with millions of people and near New York on the East Coast, there is, traveling through the States, you go through areas that there is nobody around. This is an animal I was not familiar with. This is the pronghorn. And I was surprised. It's not a great picture, unfortunately, but it was a very interesting. It's a small deer with horns. Very interesting. And of course, our okay, we're going to try and jump the video again. Let me see if I can do this quickly. New share, quick time, share. I'm getting better at this. So there's our black bear encounter. And then I'll jump back to the presentation. Okay. And then, so going through Yellowstone National Park, up into Bozeman, Montana, where we stayed. This was our view from the house that we stayed at. It was Glenn Kolkoff, a friend that, again, one of the first guys that I met down here in Kobe. He was with the running club, the Hash House Harriers. And he allowed us to stay at his place. And it was beautiful in Montana. It definitely would be a place to live. So this is downtown Montana. And up on the top right, we've got some nice salmon that was cooked on cedar planks. If you ever get a chance to barbecue using cedar planks, I recommend it. It was just so delicious. Everyone's getting hungry now, right? Okay, so from Montana, we're going to head south back through Yellowstone National Park, all the way down to the Grand Canyon, Arizona, and then up to Las Vegas. Okay. Old Faithful. If you're familiar with Old Faithful, basically it goes every, how are we doing for time? 10 minutes. Okay, I'm going to skip this video, but this one is every 45, 50 minutes. It spouts water. It's amazing. You get there and they've got benches that you sit on, and you just wait. And in the time that it's allotted, it'll just start. Actually, I'll show the first bit. It won't be too bad. I'm getting good at this. Here we are. So basically it's like this, and you go, okay, that's not very exciting. And then you're trying to get the right timing to film this. So it took many takes, and then all of a sudden it just starts spewing the water. It's an incredible sight. So yeah, it does this for about a minute and a half. I'm not gonna bore you, but this was incredible. Okay, and I'll jump back to the presentation. I'm getting good at this. Okay, so from Old Faithful, we headed south down towards Salt Lake City, and on the way we stayed at Lava Hot Springs. Or we didn't stay, we stopped and we had a little bit of a swim in these springs, hot springs. Then stayed at Salt Lake City in a place called Lagoon RV Park. We were right next to an amusement park, which made for an interesting evening as all the people were going in, and you could hear the rides going all night long. Then we had an adventure. From Salt Lake City towards our next destination, we got hit by a rock from a car, or it was a truck, and it broke the side glass down by the passenger's foot. So you can see we patched it up. That was our first attempt to try to patch it, and you'll see later on some better attempts. Okay. So we went down to Bryce Canyon, and this was absolutely beautiful. Again, everyone goes to the Grand Canyon, but if you get a chance, Bryce Canyon is worth it as well. It's fairly close. We stayed at a place called Canyon of Escalante RV Park, but this was just gorgeous. Then we headed to the Grand Canyon from Bryce Canyon, and here we are in front of the Grand Canyon. From there, we went to Prescott, Arizona, and met up with Dave Harris, a longtime friend here in Kobe, who's now living in Arizona. And we got there, we were feeling great, went out for lunch with another friend of mine from IKEA who had retired and was living in Prescott or near Prescott. We had lunch with him, and then we all got sick for a day. It was not pleasant. I got it first. I felt it coming on after lunch, and I just went down, and I won't get into the details, but it was not pretty. And then it hit Ray when he was in the RV, and it hit Joe, and then it hit Yukari, and we were gone. We were out for a day, not being able to do anything. Fortunately, the timing was perfect. So once we recovered, we're still not feeling 100%, but we got back on the road again and headed to Route 66. And if you know, this area is from the movie, the animation movie Cars. So you might recognize some of these vehicles from that movie. From there, we headed up to Las Vegas, which was the hottest place on this trip. It was so hot that we could not sleep. Even we had air conditioning in the RV, but it was, our RV units were not strong enough for this heat. We got up to, I think, 43 degrees and it didn't cool down below 30. But we did manage to do some sightseeing. So we did walk around Las Vegas. We, again, it was very, very hot. So we tried to limit the amount of time we were outside. So now I'm on my last part of the trip, from Las Vegas to LA and then up the coast through Washington State and into Vancouver. So we stayed just outside of Los Angeles because of the traffic. We rented a car. As you can see, here's our final patching, which seemed to withhold through the wind of driving. And here we are. We have made it to the West Coast. So we're on Santa Monica Pier. One thing which was interesting was the free sunscreen they hand out. We went to Venice Beach, Hollywood. There's the Jennifer Lopez star, the Walk of Fame. You can see here the Hollywood sign up on the hill. And here we are in Little Tokyo, in Rodeo Drive in Los Angeles. And then from Los Angeles, we headed north to San Francisco and stayed with some good friends, Michael Cabot, and had these wonderful crayfish. Of course, if you're in San Francisco, you have to head over the Golden Gate Bridge. It was a bit foggy, but we did get this picture. Headed up towards the coast. This is Crescent City, California, just on the very border of Oregon and California. And it has some huge trees. And we got some great pictures of the elk. And here we are on the Pacific City in Oregon, one of our last coastal campsites. Oh, here's the Oregon coast, having some curry rice, walking on the beach. And then from there, we headed into the center of Washington State to Pasco. Here's Angie and her family. I met her when I was teaching on Rock Island to begin with, and we stayed there. And we were there for these hydroplanes, which is quite amazing. Okay, gotta share this, new share. Okay, so this is a hydroplane. We're sitting right there. It's amazing. It's very exciting. Ray's enjoying it. Okay, jump back to the presentation. Okay, then from Washington, we headed to the border, the US-Canada border. And this is where we say goodbye to the United States. Headed to Tawasin, British Columbia, and stayed with Robert Schmoke for a couple of nights. Picked up our Audi in Vancouver. And then from there, we got on the BC ferries and headed over to Victoria, where we met our moving van and settled into our new home in British Columbia, Victoria. And that is my presentation. Did I put everybody to sleep?
Thank you very much, Mark. That was
I'm going to stop sharing. Oh,
that was very interesting. It looked like a very long trip. I wonder if I can drive that long.
well, fortunately, I had 2 other drivers, so it made for a better trip.
Thank you. ありがとうございます。
Thanks.
とてもなんか長い旅だったみたいなんですけど、まだ10分以上時間をマークが作ってくれたんで、皆さんなんか質問があれば、大竹さんおよびマークに。ごめんなさい。マークとか大竹さんにもしご質問があれば、チャットか Q&A のところに入れていただければ。遠慮なく。
チャットが入ってますか？
大丈夫？なんかありますか？大丈夫？
We have to do it all through chat, right?
Yes. はい。誰かいたら手挙げをしてもらってもいいですけど。はい。井高君から質問があって、大竹さんは初めてカナダに行かれたのはいつですかという質問が。
はい。カナダに初めて行ったのは、最初そのミネソタ州にずっと通っていたので、3年間で、その向こうでアメリカのアウトドアのすごい達人の人に出会って、その人がカナダ側のそのウッドランドカリブ州立公園に連れてってくれたのが2004年の春ですね。2004年の春に3週間も2人で旅に出たのが最初ですね。
ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。
それなんかこう北に行ったのはやっぱりこう森があるからという理由ですかね。
その人が僕はそのミネソタで3年間通ってたんですけど、その人がもうアメリカがちょっと混んできたと。で、カナダが行くとすごい静かで素晴らしい旅ができるっていうことで、彼も会った時にも15年近くその公園に通ってたんですよね。ウッドランドカリブ州立公園とか、オンタリオには本当ワバキミ公園とか、ウィルダネスクラスっていうところで、ある程度経験ないとなかなか入ってはいけないんですけど、素晴らしいカヌーの旅ができるフィールド、静かな旅ができるフィールドがあるので、それで教えてもらって、そこで、初めて国境を越えて、似たような自然がこんなに広がってるんだってことに気がついた感じですね。
はい、マリーンから質問が来てて、マリーンお願いします。
これ、大竹さんね、私はカナダで、結構夏、I was spending the time in northwestern Ontario at a cottage in near Kenora, and spent some time in Sioux Lookout.
Oh, yeah.
Very close to Red Lake and area you were, so very impressed with the photos and can really relate. And I wondered, you mentioned where is your your exhibition of photos in Osaka, Shinsaibashi? Where?
Nikon Plaza.
Okay,
You know the Nikon?
No, but I could
manufacturer of the camera? Nikon.
Yes.
Nikon Plaza,
camera. Okay.
Osaka.
Okay, I just wanted to know. Yeah, it's just nice to see your photos. I also enjoyed Mark's as well. Beautiful presentation. Hi, Mark. I just had that question. That's all.
瀬さんからチャットに質問が来てます。大竹さんに質問です。写真を撮るため長く森にこもるとき、食料とかどうされているんでしょうか？
長く入るときは乾燥させて持っていきます。向こうに住んでたとき、2005年から秋から1年半住んでたときなんかはやりやすかったんですけど、向こうでフードドライヤーというのがあって、ビーフジャーキー作ったりとかする道具ですね。ドライヤー、下から温風がずっとこう出るだけなんですけど、トレイがあって、でそれに乾燥させてというのはフリーズドライっていうのが、一番軽くて持つんですけど、1ヶ月分の食料を揃えようとすると結構お金がかかるので、 そういうもので、まあ、野菜なんかとか、あとバナナとか、そういうものは全部乾燥させて持っていきますが、あとは、まあ、穀物とかね、パスタとかなんかはもう最初から乾燥してるので、全然大丈夫ですね。あと、まあ、カナダ、涼しいことが多いというか、そんな日本みたいにムシムシしないので、まあ、傷みにくいっていうのもありますね。冬なんかは友達からムース肉のステーキとかもらったら、もうそのまま冷凍庫なので、むしろテントの中で解凍してっていう感じですかね。はい。
ありがとうございます。温度で言うと、ちょうどなんかMark, there was a question asking how hot was Las Vegas and what is the difference in summer of Japan っていうのが、there was a question, Mark.
Yes, it was 43 degrees. And it was extremely, it was a dry heat, but it was unbearable. And especially after being sick for a couple of days, it was a very uncomfortable heat. My teenage boys, they just complained, why are we here? It's too hot. So yeah, it was a bit extreme, where you didn't have the humidity, but you just don't want to be outside for more than 5 minutes.
Yeah, I've been to Vegas and it was super hot, so I remember that. And, あとそうですね、コロナで閉じ込められていたので、お二人の写真、自然の写真とか素晴らしさを堪能しましたというのがありました。ありがとうございます。あと、質問として特殊なテントを使ってるんですかという、
はい。
てるんです
軽いテントでヒルバーグというところ、北欧のメーカーなんですけども、小さいテントというのをナイロンのものを使うこともあるんですけど、先ほど写真で、見せたテントはキャンバス地のテントですね。ですからコットンです。まあ、それもちょっと、火の粉がついても燃えにくいようなスプレーなんかかかってるやつなんですけど、キャンバス地だとやっぱ蒸れないんですよね。通気性が非常にいいというか、で中でストーブ焚いても大丈夫というか。そうですね。ナイロンテントだと火の粉が当たると穴が開いちゃうので。
いやなるほどね。
ただキャンバスも重いので、一番いいのはエジプト綿っていうすごく薄いシルクみたいなキャンバスっていうのがあるんですけど、ただそれも高くてなかなか手に入らないんですけど、一応それを一つ持ってはいますね。
はい、あと僕らが素人でもすぐに動物とか自然を撮るときに、風景を撮るときになんかtips みたいなのがあれば教えてもらいたいなっていつも思うんです
けど。そうですね。自然をまず理解するというか感じるためには、実は動き回るよりも座ってることが一番よくて、本当自然の中入ってって、その場で30分でも座ってみる。でそして最初の15分ぐらい目つぶってみてもいいと思うんですよ。本当いろんな情報があって、でリスなんかも自分が静かに座ってるとシマリスなんかも横ちょろちょろってきて、もう膝の上に乗りそうなぐらいにまで近づくこともありますし、静かにしてるっていうのは大事な、それでちょっと動くと逃げちゃうんですけど、ちょっと構えといて待つとか、そうですね、自分から撮りたいと思って歩いていくと、国立公園で慣れてる動物ならいいんですけど、なかなかみんな逃げていっちゃうので、そうですね、静かにするのはいいことかもしれないですね。
わーって言って、風景も動物もすぐうわーって撮らないってやってたらダメだっていうこと
ね、ちょっとむしろなんだ僕はこうシェアするっていうか本にするっていう目的のためにカメラ持ってますけど、本当に自分の目で見て感じて美しさを心に留めとくっていうのはとても大事なことで、僕はね、実は一番いい瞬間って目閉じてるんじゃないかと思ってるんですけどそれはみんなとシェアしてみんなが見てくれればいいかなと思ってやってるので、はい、その場をじっくり感じるっていうのはやっぱり自然の中で生きるのに一番いいことだと思いますね。はい、なんか質問見ていいですか？
マイナス50度の質問あります。
はい。怖い思いをされたことはありますかとか、あと、マイナス50度の時もテントですかという質問をいただいてるんですけど。
北極熊に関しては、ガイドがついたロッジに泊まってるんですね。そんなたくさんの人が泊まれるロッジでもないんですけど、世界中から20人ぐらいカメラマンが来て、ガイドするっていうことで、いつもテントでカヌーで全部移動してるわけじゃなくて、車から撮ることもあるし、飛行機から撮ることもあるし、学者の人とやるときはモーテルに泊まって、そこからそのスバで通うってこともやるので、全部、それ旅じゃないんですけど、旅は自分の中ですごい好きなので、絶対そういうことはやりたいなと思って、だからマイナス50度の時も、そうです、先ほどの、マイナス40度まで、42度までしか経験してないですけど、ああいうテントで過ごせば、薪を切る大変さはありますけど、準備しておけばかなりあったかく、夜中に一回起きてくべるか、あとはもう分厚い寝袋ですね、にくるまって朝まで寝るかって感じですね。はい。 怖い思いっていうのは、一度熊に怒られたことがありますね。どうも彼の縄張りだったみたいで、僕は静かに花の写真撮ってたんですけど、本当はね、終わった後に終わったよって誰も言わなくても言っとけばよかったんですけど、ちょっと僕も疲れてて、で荷物を置いた場所に獣道だったんですけど、そこに行ったらちょうど来てて、で、いきなり目の前の茂みがガサガサっと動いて、でその時手が出なくてよかったなと思うんですけど、ちょっと向こうもびっくりして、基本動物たちって、人間に慣れてなければ向こうも怖いんですよね。はい。街の郊外とかのキャンプ場とかで人間見ても逃げないのが怖いんですけど、自然の奥に入っていくと、向こうもやっぱりなんだこれはってことであんま近づいてきてくれないので大丈夫なんですけど、その時はすごい怒られましたね。もうワウワウって犬みたいに吠えられて、言葉はしないですけども、完全に怒って出てけって言ってるなと思ったんで、ごめんなさいって感じで出てきました。
あとカメラに質問が。カメラ何台持っておられますか？で、どんな性能のカメラですか？
最初の10年フィルムで撮ってたんですけれど、僕はキャノンを使ってるんですが、今回ニコンで写真展してるのは土門検証がニコンがサポートしているのでということで、ですけど、最初の10年フィルムで撮ってて、10年前にデジタルカメラで一眼レフですね、5D って分かりますかね。一番上の 1DX とかも使うんですけど、重たいので、水の上で旅するのにちょっともう一つ下のランクぐらいで十分ですかね。それよりもレンズの方が大事だったりして、で、同じボディを2台は必ず持っていって、1つ壊れたら撮れなくなっちゃうので、大体ボディ3台ですかね。5D マーク、今だったらマーク4っていうのがありますけど、それを2台と、1つ 7D っていうちょっとコンパクトで、でも望遠が稼げるやつがあるんですけど、それを持って。
はい、ありがとうございます。あと、マークに質問があって、How long can your RV
can I?
fill up gas? Could you find a... Yeah.
Mark, no, not me.
Yes, okay. So the question is how long on a tank of gas we can drive? Basically, from one campsite to the next site, we would have to fill up. So we're talking about 200 kilometers, 300 kilometers. I don't know the exact distance, but we would plan, basically, we would look, there was a system, an app for the phone called Gas Buddy. And we would look, okay, between here and the next campsite, we would see which gas station had the cheapest gas. And that would be where we fill up for that trip. So we would hopefully have enough to get to the next campsite, and then near that campsite, we would have to fill up again. So I think about 200 miles, maybe 200 kilometers. I don't know the exact number there. There's a question here. How much does it cost to rent an RV for 6 weeks? We actually bought the RV. We paid for that. One, because I think to purchase it for a 6-week period, 1 week is generally about $2,000, $3,000. So we were looking at probably, and we were only going one way. So to go one way, you'd have to pay a lot of money to get it back. So we decided to purchase. And then when we got to Canada, I went through a dealer there and we sold it. Basically, the purchase price and the selling price, we paid about $20,000 US, which I think it probably would have been 30 or 40,000 if we had rented.
津田さんから今、質問があって、ちょっと入られてますので、津田さん、質問お願いします。
大竹さん、津田です。
こんにちは。
はい。大竹さん、あれですね、我々今、コロナでね、日本に閉じこもってるんですけれども、はい、大竹さんの次のね、コロナの後のですね、アドベンチャーの計画はどんなんですか？
ルートしてね、白くも行かなきゃって思ってるんですけど、早く、このノースツとまたカヌーの旅も行きたいし、どうなんですか、皆さんの方が知ってるのかな、カナダって今行けるんですかね。なんとか、今結構オンタリオも外出禁止令みたいな感じで、マニトバとオンタリオの州の境が移動できないとか、 結構車で走ってると警察も聞きに来るとかっていうのを聞いてるので、ちょっと戻れないかなと思うんですけども、まあ、僕の狼を探す旅というのは全然終わってないので、あとは、先住民の人たちの暮らしも、どんどん、ね、急速に変わっているので、そういうのも記録したいし、あと僕は一人で11日間のカヌーの旅っていうのは、まあ、毎日こう移動する、そういうのはやったんですけど、僕の師匠が3週間連れてってくれたので、3週間ぐらいカヌーの旅に行きたいなっていうのを、まだ体が動くうちに早くやりたいなっていうのはありますね。はい、津田さんにもミネソタに行ってカヌーを担いでもらいましたけど、やっぱりぜひ皆さんもカヌー乗るだけではなくて、一旦こう肩に乗せてみるっていうのは、これは歴史的なこう行為なので、ぜひやってもらいたいなと思いますね。
はい、ぜひまた、あれですね。
はい、最後、川北さんが入ってられます、質問。ミュート解除できますか、川北さん。大丈夫ですか？ごめんなさい。あと最後、坂本さんが質問があるので、ミュート解除して質問できますか？
はい。大竹さん、先ほど写真を見たときにですね、すごい、先ほど、熊田、先ほど、向こうで、ノースーツの中で、カナダガンっていうのがありますよね。映ってたと思うんです。はい、そのカナダガンが、なんか今、ルーニーって1ドル硬貨って六角形の硬貨に出てたと思うんですけれども、もう今となっては、いつだったかニュースで見たときに、もう硬貨は流通してないらしいんですけれども、もう今って、もう1ドル硬貨っていうのは入手はできないんですか？
ありますよ。
ありますよ。
ね、普通に買い物して、もう、はい、まあ、いけるんですかね？
紙幣がない。
紙幣じゃなくて硬貨の方です。
硬貨はあると思いますね、普通に。
硬貨は。
僕が言ってた1年半行けてた。
ありますね。ペニーをなくしたっていう話ですよね、カナダは。
そうそう、ペニー。
ペニーですか？
セントですね。
1セント。
1ドルではない。
1ドル。
まだ。
はい、ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございます。
描かれてるのはアビですからね。カナダガンではないです。これは
ルーニーの方です。
だからルーニーって呼ばれてますよね。
はい。すみません。ありがとうございます。
あと最後、マーク、チャットを見てください。
はい。もういいかな。はい。じゃあもう時間に残念ながらなってしまったので、KIC の小川専務理事の方から中締めをお願いをして、今日はこれぐらいで、あと先ほど大竹さんもおっしゃってましたけど、マークも Facebook やってますので、友達申請もしくはフォローしていただければ非常にありがたいですし、その後コネクトをしていただければいいなと思っております。よろしくお願いします。小川専務理事、すみませんけどよろしくお願いします。
はい、KICC の不破でございます。聞こえますでしょうか？
はい、大丈夫です。
はい。日本カナダ会の皆さん、こんにちは。神戸インターナショナルコミュニティセンターの不破恵子でございます。森脇委員長、河合代表、お疲れ様でございました。Good afternoon, everybody of Japan Canada Kai. I'm 不破恵子 from KICC. 私は実はこの4月からこの KICC に勤務をしております。それまでは神戸市外国語大学で4年間事務局長をしておりました。I'm working here at KICC from this April after 4 years at Kobe State University of Foreign Studies as Director General. 本日はカナダ公開セミナーへのご招待ありがとうございます。大竹秀弘さん、マーク・ロビンソンさん、素晴らしいスピーチをありがとうございました。カナダ、そしてアメリカの大自然に大変感動をいたしました。I really appreciate your invitation to Canada Seminar today. I enjoyed your wonderful speeches. I was impressed by great nature of Canada and America. 一つお知らせでございますが、この KICC は10月に事務所を神戸市長田区に移転いたします。新しいオフィスでも より一層国際交流に力を入れていきますので、どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。神戸インターナショナルコミュニティセンターオフィス will move to 神戸市長田区。長田区 is west part of Kobe City in this October. We will extend international exchange activity at the new office. Of course, all of you are always welcome to our new office. Thank you. 今日はどうもありがとうございました。今後ともよろしくお願いいたします。
どうもありがとうございました。事務局運営委員会の方からは何か最後告知等ございますか？ご連絡は大丈夫でしょうか？
はい、今日は皆さん、カナダ公開セミナーにご参加いただきまして、どうもありがとうございました。我々まだいろいろこれからも活動を続けてまいりますが、河合さん、事務局の方からこれからの活動について何かあれば少しご紹介してください。お願いします。はい、聞こえます。
すみません。
聞こえてるよ。
ジュンコさん映ってるよ。ジュンコさん映ってますよ。
映ってる？
はい、大丈夫。喋ってください。
はい、
大丈夫。
事務局から一言だけ、今後の JCK のイベントとか、大竹会員の書籍、そして写真展などのことは皆ホームページを見てください。日本カナダ会で検索していただければいろいろなことがいっぱい出てきます。アップデートを森脇ウェブ担当委員がしてくださってますので、ぜひよろしくお願いします。So that you all just open the JCK homepage and check that the futures event and books published by the members or related to Canada, and also that what that the members are doing. So よろしくお願いいたします。はい、終わりです。
はい、どうもありがとうございました。以上で今日のカナダ公開セミナー終了とさせていただきます。皆さんどうもありがとうございました。以上です。
ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。
Thank you.